All right. Can you hear me? How's the sound? Okay. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Can't hear you. Hold on a second. Hello? You hear me now? All right. Sing something. No. You're funny. How's the sound? It's good? Okay. Really? Just sing something. Um, Love has truly been good to me. Not even one sad day or minute have I had since you come my way. Who's that? That's Luther. You don't know about Luther Vandross? All right, we're good, right? Good. All right, let's go. Ready? Just count me in. All right. Hey, how are you all doing? Um, I wanted to get on here. Hello to you guys. My name is Keith Singleton. I'm the host of uh, Here Is My Point. I have a podcast, or Damien Dash has a broadcast on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel, and I will be placing this content on Fanbase. So I wanted to get on here and discuss with you my assessment of the presidential debate that happened in Alpharetta, Georgia, between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And um, and from my assessment, not too many surprises. Um, uh, Nothing big to report. Two elderly men on the podium. They did what I thought they would do. They would be old. Joe, to me, is no different than he was or has been before. Donald Trump is still who he is. I have to say that Donald Trump is even more narcissistic than he usually is. Um, so, no big surprises. No sleeping Joe on the podium. No, Donald Trump showing up in a king's robe. None of those theatrics. For the most part, debate was non-eventful. Uh, if anybody who has not had a chance to go check out the presidential debate, I guess it's been recorded. If you haven't checked it out, um, I would suggest you go do so because I'm just going to be highlighting some things that I saw on the debate. And if you don't want me to spoil that for you, you can turn off this right now. Well, okay, let's get into it. Okay, so let's get out what I've heard in a lot of comments that Joe Biden was staggering when he came out, and he was barely making it to the podium. Um, that didn't happen. Joe came out. He's the same as has been before. Joe has never been a fast moving guy. He moves to the podium. He's 80 years old, guys. Come on, give me a break. He made it to the podium. What I can say about Joe is he um, came in smiling. He came in waving at the crowd and waving at the monitors, saying thank you for being here. Donald Trump enters secondly, and Donald Trump comes in expecting to be, expecting accolades. He didn't say anything. He didn't say hi, didn't wave. He just came to the podium, and basically, they started the questioning debate. They went right into debate. No big thing. They had opening statements. Um, Basically, saying, Joe Biden saying that, hey, you got, you can't trust. Um, he lies um, constantly, and I wish he would have probably went into it. He just kept repeating it, but um, and basically, Joe is telling you what he has done for the company since he's been in. Right, he's been going over it. Um, what the moderators didn't do, which I think that um, it probably should have been done by some other moderators, is that there was a fact checking element of the debate that was missing to fact check these guys. So basically, we see an hour and a half of the moderators asking a question and the candidates attempting to answer the best way they can. Um, for Joe, Joe was not as energetic as Donald was. Joe has never been energetic. Joe, I think, was not trying to appear like he was. Uh, he didn't have that energized energy. He was never that. Joe was old when he came in. We're just seeing more of it now, and because we get to see more of it, um, we're saying that he's slowly losing his apprehensions or his ability to speak. I don't think so. I think he was very plain, and I can understand what he was saying. His answers were, although very slow and very measured, he took his time to speak. I think that because it is perceived that he's going to be stuttering and have a slow drag, I think that he tried too hard to make it appear that he's fine, he's all right, that he has his mental faculty. Joe can think. Joe probably had a problem with the mechanics of speaking at that point because I think he was concentrating too much of being making the appearance that he is in control of his faculties. Between the two debaters, Joe answered the questions more, or he answered the questions a lot more than Donald did. Donald spent most of the night uh, replying to accusations against him from Joe and trying to defend or trying to glorify himself by saying he's the best and the better of all things, right? And again, I'm sorry that there was no fact checking of Donald's debate, but Donald, um, I would say, did come out a little bit more energetic. Um, I wish that Donald had used that energy to answer some questions. I wish he was more had more of a better grasp of his policies for the questions that were asked to him, whether it been about immigration, whether it been about tax reform, whether it been about how to not be involved in foreign countries' wars. I think he should have been more articulate. I think he should have been more detailed and specific in his answers. He was not. And I think that Donald missed an opportunity because of the perception of Joe and that he was going to be slow. And if you concentrated on that, your observations were not disappointed because Joe, again, to me, was the usual Joe Biden that he usually is. He's not this enthusiastic speaker or orator. He is a guy that's very measured. He's very monotone, and he was the same Joe that he was always been. Donald, I believe, did miss an opportunity. He had an opportunity to talk in specifics about what he has done for the country and what his opponent is doing to the country. To say that he's bad and he's killing the country is generalities. And we to me, I'm getting tired of hearing them. Right? I'm getting tired of hearing that he's the best and he's the worst. That still doesn't tell me what you're going to do for this country. At the end of the day, guys, these two guys are interviewing for a job. This is a job. And if you have to ask yourself, if you were the hiring manager in this room and you had to listen to the responses to your questions, would you hire any of these guys? If I had to hire one of them, I guess I would hire the guy who answered my questions in more detail. He gave me a better look in what he's doing for the country. I don't I wouldn't care about what you thought about the other candidate. I'm talking to you. And I think this is what's getting lost in the debates is that I want to hear what you are doing, what your plan is, what your direction is, how you are going to execute them, how you are going to approach them, who you're going to select to do what, and who you're going to make do this. That's what I want. What resources are you going to make available to the American citizens? What you're going to retract? What is the problem? What's your solution? That's you're getting an hour and a half, and I think that was another uh, disadvantage for Joe is that when you're given 5 minutes to explain your position on an issue, and because he's trying so hard not to appear um, mentally slow in his speech, that he has to take the time to think out um, what his response is going to be. And like two men in a room together, and you have two men that are in a power of authority, they come with a certain ego for one another. So if you commented uh, uh, in a bad way of another one, they're going to respond. If you have a critique of of your candidate or of your opponent, as men in the power of authority, they're going to be defensive and they're going to respond. So we lose a portion of the time that you have to answer the question because you're taking a big chunk of your time in response to a comment that your opponent has made. And I wish that Joe um, in his next debate would just say, "Hey, my opponent is on record, telling lies. He's a liar, and he does it for a living," and then keep moving on, and just relegate it to those words, and keep saying that consistently. Now, I do have a bias towards Biden. I do, because I think Biden understands that the presidency is for 4 years, right? I don't think that Donald takes the presidency seriously. I think that he thinks after his 4 years that he should remain in office, and I think that he will, again, like he did on January 6th. I think he will um, encourage the citizens of this country to try to keep him in office beyond his tenure. So uh, again, you know, when you look at the choices that we have, if I'm not diehard Biden, if I'm not a diehard Trump, I just want the public to know that if you look at your sample ballots before they come, before you have to go vote, I advise you to go check them out. There are more options for presidency on your ballots. I believe there's a liberation party choice. I believe there's a Green Party choice. I think there's a Patriot. Depends on everybody. I guess all these parties couldn't be on every ballot, and I think there's an Independence Party represented on the ballot. So you do have other choices. You don't have to choose between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. I would also, if you are thinking about what other options are, that you vet those other options, that you go check out the libertarians' positions, you go check out the independents' positions, you go check out the Green Party's position, you go check out, I believe it's the Patriot Party's position on the issues that affect this country. That would be my advice to you. Now, like I said, the debate was not anything to talk about. Oh, there was one segment where I think at the end where Donald Trump said he had challenged Joe Biden to go golfing in the golf game, and he said he could, he could probably out golf him. He tells Joe couldn't hit a drive 50 yards, and Joe says no. I would definitely be willing to go out on a golf outing with you. The only stipulation that I have is that you carry your own bag. So it's interesting in that exchange that Donald never challenged Joe that he carries his own bag. He couldn't say anything because I guess it's well known that Donald Trump doesn't carry his own bags. So I guess Joe was trying to make a statement. I may be old, and you may be sitting up here saying that I don't have physical prowess about me, but when I go golfing, I carry my own bag. So there you go. The gavel was thrown. So again, um, here's my message, or here's my point. There are 240 million of us eligible voters out here. In the last election, we had a record-setting election, and 159 million people voted in this election, a little slightly over 159 million. Out of that 159 million, 155 million voted between Trump and Biden, which means that if we take the difference between the eligible voters and the people who actually voted, there were still 80 million people who did not participate in the 2020 election, which means that 33% of this country was not heard or didn't make an effort to go out and vote. So when people tell you that half the country is divided, I have an issue with that because the math is not mathing. 60% of us went out and vote. So if we want to make a case that we have a warring between thirds of the country. So, basically 2/3 of the country is divided, and I guess in half is thirds. So we have a fight between the thirds because we don't know what the other third would prefer. And if we had a third valuable candidate that we know of that we could vote for, and I think that the United States media, the press corps, could do themselves a favor and let us know about the other presidential candidates that are participating in this election. Um, so I'll be interested to hear from the Libertarian what their positions are. I'll be interested in hearing from the Green Party. I'll be interested in hearing from the Patriot Party. I'm interested in hearing from the Independence Party representatives for presidency. Now, I just want to briefly tell you about an initiative that is out that can be presented to your representative in your state. You can go to this website and send this book. It's in the form of a book. And what it does, it outlines a new method of allocating the electoral vote to by state based on the popular vote percentage. Right now, how they allocate electoral votes, whoever wins majority vote in a state, they give them all the electoral votes. Even if the second place candidate garnered 49% of the vote in that state, they don't get any electoral votes for the efforts of their voters that voted for them. I think that is unfair, and I think it makes for presidential candidates winning who winner wins the popular vote but cannot win the electoral vote. And that's what happened in 2016 between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. Donald Trump won the electoral vote, but he did not win the popular vote. That shouldn't have happened because every other office in the United States government, from your councilmen all the way up to your governors, are decided on popular vote. And the only election that is not decided by the popular vote is the presidency of the United States. And this needs to change. I know that we'd be hard pressed to get rid of the Electoral College. So let's not get rid of it, let's revise it. And here's the revision. Quite simply, in a brief manner and summary of what the new method does is that it only gives the percentage of electoral votes that matches the percentage of the popular vote that you got from that state. For example, If you were to get, for Georgia, Georgia has 16 electoral votes. If you, as a presidential candidate, garnered 50% of the popular vote in Georgia, you would be allotted 50% of the electoral votes, which is 8 electoral votes. If you get 30% of the popular vote in Georgia, you will get 30% of the electoral votes in Georgia, which will be 4.8 votes. And if you get 20% of the popular vote in Georgia, you would get 20% of the electoral votes of Georgia, which is 3.2 electoral votes. Again, we would do that for each state until we have all the states in, and once we got all the states in, we would add up or sum up all those electoral votes, and whoever has the most electoral votes will also uh, win the popular vote. So they will be in concurrence. So if you, on average, receive 55% of the vote in nationwide, it would be reflected in the electoral votes. You would have 55% of the electoral votes. So again, this site is called popelect.com. It's POP